Most men pray to escape hell. I prayed to get in. It is September 1940, and I am standing in a roundup on the streets of Warsaw, waiting for the Germans to drag me away. I am not a victim, I am a hunter walking willingly into the trap. I have a fake name, a false identity, and a mission so insane no one believes it is possible. My destination is a new camp called Auschwitz, and I am going there to build an army. To understand why a man would walk into a fire, you must first understand what we lost. In 1939, Poland didn't just fall, it was torn apart by wolves. The Nazis came from the west, the Soviets from the east, and my country vanished from the map in weeks. But we didn't vanish. We went underground. I helped found the secret Polish army, the Tajna Armia Polska. We fought from the shadows, hiding weapons in basements and passing messages in hollowed-out bread. But by 1940, a new shadow was growing in the south. We heard whispers of a place called Auschwitz. At the time, nobody knew what that word truly meant. We thought it was a large prison, maybe an internment camp for POWs. But then our members started disappearing into it and never coming back. The silence coming from that place was deafening. We needed intelligence. We needed to know how many men were there, how it was guarded, and if it could be broken from the outside. But you cannot spy on a prison from the outside. Someone had to go in. I raised my hand. It wasn't bravery, it was logic. I was a cavalry officer. Duty was not something you did when it was convenient. It was something you did because it was necessary. My superiors thought I was mad, but they agreed. On September 19th, 1940, I walked out onto the streets of Warsaw during a German Łapanka, a street roundup. I saw the SS trucks, the soldiers shouting, the civilians being shoved against walls. I didn't run. I stood there, adjusted my cap, and waited for them to take me. The journey was a descent into madness. We were packed into freight cars, standing in darkness, choking on the stench of sweat and fear. When the train finally stopped, the doors didn't open to a station. They opened to blinding floodlights and screaming men. "Raus! Raus!" The SS guards beat us with rifle butts before our feet even touched the ground. Dogs snarled, tearing at the hems of our coats. This wasn't a prison. This was something else entirely. They marched us through a gate with a wrought iron sign that read "Arbeit macht frei," work sets you free. It was the first lie of millions. Inside, humanity was stripped away instantly. They took my clothes, my name, and my history. I was no longer Witold Pilecki, second lieutenant of the Polish army. I was beaten, shaved, and thrown into a striped uniform. A tattoo needle punched blue ink into my forearm. I looked down at the fresh bleeding mark, 4,859. That was my new soul. I had successfully infiltrated the camp. But as I looked around at the starving, hollow faces of the men in the roll call square, I realized the terrifying truth. I might be the only man in history to break into hell, but getting out was going to be impossible. Auschwitz was designed to kill you in 3 ways: hunger, work, or the cold. If those didn't finish you, the SS guards were happy to speed up the process with a club or a bullet. The life expectancy of a new prisoner was 3 weeks. I knew that if I was going to survive, I had to be useful, but if I was going to succeed, I had to be invisible. I began my work immediately. It was a game of terrifying psychology. I had to look into the eyes of starving, broken men and decide in a split second if they could be trusted with secrets that would get us all tortured to death. One wrong choice, one snitch, and the mission would end in a bloody cellar. I approached them cautiously. Fellow officers, pre-war friends, men with iron in their spines. We formed the ZOW, the Union of Military Organization. I built it on a system of 5s. Each cell had 5 members, and they only knew the men in their own group. If the Gestapo caught one man, he could only betray 4 others before the line went dead. It was a firewall built of human lives. Our army had no rifles, no grenades, and no uniforms. Our weapons were bread, medicine, and hope. We stole extra rations for the sick. We infiltrated the camp hospital to save members from the lethal injections used to clear overcrowded wards. We even managed to set up a radio transmitter using spare parts smuggled in from the workshops, hiding it deep in the hospital block. For the first time, a voice from hell was broadcasting to the free world. But as 1941 bled into 1942, the camp changed. The nature of the evil shifted. At first, we were Polish political prisoners, dying of neglect. Then, the trains started arriving from all over Europe. Thousands of Jewish families poured onto the platform at the new camp extension, Birkenau. I watched from the construction sites. I saw the old, the women, and the children separated. They were marched towards concrete bunkers, and they never came back. Then came the smell. A heavy, sweet, greasy smoke that settled over the camp and coated our throats. It wasn't wood smoke, it was burning flesh. I realized then that my mission had evolved. I wasn't just observing a prison anymore. I was witnessing an industrial slaughterhouse. I frantically sent reports out through the underground courier network. Laundry workers, escaped prisoners, anyone who could carry a scrap of paper. They are murdering thousands a day, I wrote. We need action. Bomb the tracks, drop paratroopers, destroy this place. I waited for the sky to fill with Allied planes. I waited for the Polish Home Army to storm the gates. I waited for the world to scream in outrage. But day after day, the sun rose over the chimneys, and the only sound was the marching of boots and the hiss of the gas. The silence from the outside was more terrifying than the screams on the inside. By the spring of 1943, the truth hit me harder than a capo's club. No one was coming. My reports were being read in London and Washington, I knew that much, but they were dismissed as exaggerations. They couldn't believe the scale of the horror. They thought it was impossible. I realized then that a piece of paper can be ignored, but a man looking you in the eye cannot. I had to break out. I had to scream the truth into the face of the world myself. I had spent 947 days in hell. I was thinner, grayer, and weaker, but my mind was sharp. The SS had begun transferring old numbers, the survivors, to other camps to break up our resistance networks. I knew my time was running out. If I stayed, I would die a number. If I ran, I might die a soldier. The plan was madness. I managed to get assigned to the night shift at the camp bakery, a building located just outside the main electric fence. It was still heavily guarded, but it wasn't the cage of the inner camp. 2 other men, Jan and Edward, agreed to run with me. We chose the night of Easter Monday. We figured even the SS might be a little slower, a little more distracted by the holiday. The bakery smelled of warm bread, a cruel, intoxicating scent for starving men. We worked in silence, our eyes darting to the SS guard dozing near the phone. We had prepared a heavy wooden door at the back of the building. For days, we had been secretly loosening the bolts, replacing them with mud and breadcrumbs to hold them in place just enough to look secure. At 2 in the morning, the moment arrived. The guard turned his back. I looked at Jan. He nodded. I threw my shoulder against the heavy timber. The false bolts snapped. The door swung open and the cold night air rushed in, the taste of freedom. We sprinted. The darkness swallowed us, but we knew the alarm would sound in seconds. We ran through the marshy fields, the mud sucking at our boots, threatening to drag us down. Then, the sound I had heard 1,000 times ripped through the night. The camp siren. The howler. It was a sound that usually meant someone else was doomed. Tonight, it screamed for me. Shots rang out behind us. Bullets whizzed through the birch trees, snapping branches near my head. We didn't look back. We tore off our prisoner stripes as we ran, revealing the civilian clothes we had worn underneath, stolen from the warehouse. We crossed the Soa River, the freezing water numbing our legs, washing away the filth of the camp. We were out. We were free. But we were deep in enemy territory. 3 skeletons running through a German-occupied nightmare with the entire SS garrison hunting us down. We ran for our lives, but I wasn't running away from the fight. I was running back to it. I made it to Warsaw and delivered my report, the first comprehensive intelligence on the Holocaust, to the Home Army Command. The ovens? I told them. The gas? It is not a prison, it is an extermination machine. They listened, horrified. The report was smuggled to London. I waited for the bombing runs. I waited for the intervention. It never came. The Allies knew, the world knew. But the tracks to Auschwitz remained untouched. The trains kept rolling. It broke my heart more than the beatings ever did. But I didn't have time to grieve. The Warsaw Uprising began in 1944. I fought in the streets, anonymous again, just another soldier in the rubble, battling the Germans until the city was razed to the ground. When the war finally ended, I thought the nightmare was over. I was wrong. The Nazis were gone, but the Soviets had taken their place. My beloved Poland traded one occupier for another. The new communist government didn't want heroes like me, men who remembered freedom, men who were loyal to the true Poland. They saw us as a threat. In 1947, the secret police arrested me. They didn't care about Auschwitz. They didn't care about my sacrifice. They tortured me. In the damp cellars of the Mokotów prison, they did things to me that made Auschwitz seem like child's play. I told my wife during a brief visit, Auschwitz was just a trifle compared to this. They put me on trial. A show trial. They accused me, the man who volunteered for hell, of being a spy, a traitor to the Polish people. It was a farce. I stood in the dock looking at judges who were puppets of Moscow. I knew the verdict before they spoke it. Death. On May 25, 1948, they led me to a basement room. No firing squad, just a single executioner with a pistol. I didn't beg, I didn't cry. I had faced death every day for years. This was just the final meeting. They buried me in an unmarked grave, likely in a garbage dump near the cemetery. They tried to erase me. For 40 years, speaking my name was a crime in Poland. They wanted the world to forget Witold Pilecki. But you cannot kill the truth. You cannot bury courage forever. Today you know my name. Today you know my story. I was the man who volunteered for Auschwitz. I was the man who tried to warn the world. And though I died in the dark, betrayed by the very land I loved, I died free. Because freedom is not a place you live in. It is something you carry inside you, something no wall, no guard, and no bullet can ever take away.